Well, recently a 27-year-old female, broke up with my ex-boyfriend, a 26-year-old male, because of that. Long story short, he wanted freedom. He told me he wanted to sleep over at his female friend's house, whom he met some months ago, because he had never slept there before. In my opinion, he didn't have a good reason to do that, so it made me uncomfortable. We broke up because he didn't acknowledge or respect my feelings about it, and later he told me we could get back together if I accepted that they were also sharing the bed at his house because he always shares the bed with his female friends. He told me that this is trust. If I trust him, I wouldn't have a problem with him having sleepovers or sharing a bed with his female friends. I didn't agree, so I am trying to move on. There are more details about it, but honestly, that's it. After all of this happened, I keep thinking if this is a boundary I should express on first dates, because it took him 1 year to do something like that. To give some context, we were in a long-distance relationship when this happened. 5 months without seeing each other, and he was about to return to our country so we could move in together. I have never met the girl in real life. After all this happened, he told me that maybe he wouldn't even come back to our country because he didn't want to leave her alone there. He also said she was his safe space and compared our relationship with their friendship. It was really messed up. And then, weeks later, he sent me a text saying it wasn't my fault but his own, because his mind was suppressing him, and now he discovered he has things to work on. It was really confusing. Hey guys, I would like to thank everyone for the replies. I've read them all. It wasn't an easy breakup and it really affected me mentally. I hope this post reaches him somehow because he needs to read these replies and grow up. Hopefully, life will teach him someday. However, I'm trying to move on a little bit every day. Story 1. Trust is earned, not a tool for manipulation. Making you feel bad for not trusting him is shifting the blame to you for what is inappropriate behavior when you are in a relationship. If it makes you uncomfortable, it is a boundary he has to respect. Story 2. This is like those girls with a guy best friend that say, "Oh, don't worry, we're just watching a movie at his place. We were just using the bed to hold all the food, so I was sitting on his lap just to maximize the space." If you're worried, then you're just insecure. Like hell no, it's obvious what's going on. Story 3. If you expressed this to me on a first date, I would conclude that you are nuts. There would not be a second date. Your ex is a weirdo and should not be used as a model of common behavior. Story 4. I would sooner sleep outside on the ground than sleep in a bed with a girl that's not my girlfriend. I can't imagine putting even a moment of doubt in her head about my loyalty and commitment to her. I think this is something to be discussed once the relationship is exclusive. I don't think it needs to be brought up in the early stages of dating. Story 5. He wanted to sleep over at his female friend's house, whom he met some months ago, because he had never slept there before. Did he have a big dick? Because clearly his balls were enormous. Story 6. I don't care if he met his friend the day he was born. You don't do that. Good for you for breaking up, and don't forget to throw the whole man in the garbage can. Story 7. He sounds like a piece of immature, selfish trash. I've been in a monogamous relationship for 23 years, and I have shared the same room with other women but never the same bed. And only after parties where everyone is crashing so as not to drive home drunk. My wife has always known this and has complete trust in me because I am beyond loyal. If she ever has a problem with anything I am doing, I will immediately adjust my plans because the way she feels is important to me, and I prioritize her. Your situation is slightly different because someone who wanted to be with you and cared about you would listen to what you are saying and would happily adjust their actions to make sure you were comfortable and secure. He is literally talking about sleeping in another woman's bed. Like you sleeping in your male friends' beds just because you never have before would be a normal thing to do. Seriously, how is that an acceptable thing to do in any relationship? Good riddance. He will probably ruin himself with this behavior eventually. Story 8. Honestly, you did the right thing. He told me he wanted to sleep over at his female friend's house because he had never slept there before. Like, what is this? That makes no sense. Story 9. He's gaslighting the out of you. The only female I would share a bed with is my fiancée. If I have a female friend sleeping over, she gets the couch or air mattress. Story 10. Yeah, your ex is a tool. 26-year-old little boy wanting to have sleepovers. Not doing that is the bare minimum and should not even need to be discussed. He has no emotional intelligence or respect for your relationship. Find a man. Story 11. This is the craziest thing, not okay, and you're not crazy for being uncomfortable. If a woman I'm with did that, they would never hear from me again. Also, it's not something that should be expressed on a first date. Have the trust talk later on in the talking phase because it is important, but any normal functioning human knows that's not okay. Story 12. I've been with my wife for 6 years, married for 4. I don't even call other women on the phone unless it's my mother or something work or job related. Share a bed? Yeah, forget that. You made the right decision. Story 13. Honey, there is no partner who would be okay with this. He sounds very immature doing this and then saying it's your problem because you should trust him. No, he has to earn that trust, and he isn't ready for a grown-up relationship. Story 14. I would not. I would sleep on the ground, in my car, in a chair before I would sleep in bed with another woman. I would not tolerate a woman disrespecting me like that, and I am not going to disrespect her. Story 15. Mate. Flipping hell. If I had to explicitly tell a man, wait no, beg a man not to sleep in another woman's bed. Just no. You have done nothing wrong. Respecting yourself is a good trait to have, and he doesn't want you to have it. Story 16. Oh, that's fine. I was gonna go to a sleepover too with my guy friends. We're gonna share a bed too. It'll be fun. And then watch how his tune changes. Story 17. If I trust him, I wouldn't have a problem with him having sleepovers or sharing a bed with his female friends. Yeah, but if he cared about you, he wouldn't do anything that would make it difficult for you to trust him. It's his responsibility to make sure that trusting him is easy. If he's making it hard for you to trust him, then he's not a responsible or caring person. He's selfish. Whether he's actually cheating or not doesn't matter if that's how he behaves within a relationship. Either way, he's no good. Story 18. This is not trust. This is manipulation. And your boyfriend sounds like he is 26 going on 16. As for this being a boundary you should express on future dates, well, is it normal for guys you meet to want to sleep in the same bed as their female friend while they have a girlfriend? If you meet a guy that seems to have this type of relationship with his female friends, then yes, you probably should express your boundary in regard to that. Story 19. I shared a bed with 2 women once. Never told my ex-girlfriend about that. It was total happenstance on a late night, and absolutely nothing sexual happened. But I was smart enough to not mention it. But this guy going all Braveheart and wanting to sleep at his female friend's house and share a bed with her, just because, is totally different. Story 20. This guy doesn't understand how relationships work. He asked for freedom and now he has it. No one in their right mind would agree this is okay. Breaking up was the right thing to do, most likely. He needs to mature. Let that be on his own time. Meanwhile, you can spend your time doing whatever you want and with whomever you want. Hopefully with someone more mature who shows more respect. Story 21. Every couple has their own boundaries. If you think he doesn't respect your boundaries and you talk to him about it, and after that he keeps breaking your trust, you should move on. Answering your question, I know my partner's best friends, and I trust them. My partner and her friends. I'd share my bed with any of them. Story 22. As a single guy, I have platonically shared the bed with female friends on a number of occasions. That's no issue for me, and it didn't seem to be an issue for them either. The difference there is that I was single and only really had my own and my friends' feelings to consider. We all knew our boundaries and respected each other. So there was no issue. If I was in a relationship, I would never do anything like that without talking it over with my partner. And if she's even the slightest bit uncomfortable with it, then there are always other ways to sleep. Sharing a bed doesn't have to be romantically or sexually intimate. Just look at the Dead Bedroom subreddit to confirm that. It doesn't have to, but it often does, however. There is still a lot of implication with such an act, so I absolutely think it's well within reason to not be comfortable about your partner sharing a bed with someone else like that. Now crashing on a friend's couch or sleeping on a spare mattress on the floor or something similar, that's a different thing. But doing it because he had never slept there before is a really strange and concerning reason to give. Story 23. Dude. No regular man would think of this as okay or normal. Your hopefully still ex was a manipulator. Your average man won't do things like that unless he is blatantly cheating. Your ex totally was. And most likely on the edge of being mentally stable. Story 24. What's lame is he's obviously lying. A true man would tell the whole truth to you and let you decide whether or not you want to be in his love triangle. I never had to lie to have more than one girlfriend. I always gave women the choice. But my poly days are over, that's just me. Story 25. Nope. As a man, I will share my bed with women with or without sex when I'm single. In a relationship, never. Just the one. Game over. I would expect the same respect in return. Story 26. I never slept on a cold, damp lawn either. The because he had never slept there before argument is transparent and childish. Run away from this awful person. Story 27. With all due respect, I wouldn't worry about expressing that boundary on a first date. I'm still cringing at that guy trying to convince you that was a normal thing. It's not. I've had male friends I've shared a bed with and absolutely nothing happened, and I still don't think it's reasonable. I'm so glad you walked away from that guy. You can definitely do better. Story 28. I've shared a bed with many of my female friends non-romantically, and that's all okay. But I was not in a relationship with someone at that time. That changes things. It just shows a lack of empathy. How would he feel if you were sharing a bed with some guy? I'd be annoyed. Story 29. Female here. I think it depends on the situation and the complexity of the relationship you have with a person. I am not married nor have kids. A bunch of my guy friends are the same. We are all in our late 30s to early 40s. All of us have been friends on average for about 20 years. My two closest guy friends and I share beds when we are in town visiting. Nothing sexual ever happens, and we act more like annoying siblings with each other than anything else. Although I also see the other side of the argument, original poster's position, because one of my guy friends is constantly defending our friendship when he is in a relationship. Women he meets think he and I are having sex, and we never have and probably never will. I usually ask him if he wants me to step in and say something or not, and he usually says no. He will deal with it, and if they have a problem with our friendship, then he will just end the dating. Keep in mind, this friend lives across the country and comes to visit me on average 1 to 2 times every other year. So, I guess the point of this is based on what the original poster said. I think you are being manipulated. He seems overly affectionate with someone he just met. If he had a backstory of knowing this person for 10 or 20 years, it could be viewed differently, but in this case, it seems like he wants his cake and to eat it too. Story 30. The question is, he's not Gandhi. He doesn't need to test his resolve by sharing beds with other women, children in Gandhi's case. If you're in a committed, monogamous relationship, what your boyfriend did is absolutely unacceptable. Open relationships are a different story, but I don't get the impression that was the case here. Story 31. Am I missing something here? If this person is openly inviting female friends to sleep in the same bed with him, it does not matter what else happens. The fact that he thinks that is acceptable is already a breach of trust. He did the thing that you might otherwise have trusted him not to do. This is such an obvious case. Also, I highly doubt that sharing a bed was the only thing going on. That is not a common thing to do at all. Story 32. If someone puts their trust in you, you should not do anything to test it. This guy sounds very selfish and immature. Time to move on, you deserve better. Story 33. Gaslighting at its finest. Dude's trying to convince you that you're the problem when he wants to snuggle up to another woman. This is absolutely unacceptable behavior. Story 34. Hell no, that's weird and crazy. My best friend and I shared a bed sometimes, but only when we were not in relationships. Thinking about that, that's pretty crazy. Story 35. As a guy with female friends, I would and have shared a bed with them. However, that was outside of a relationship. I feel like taking the risk just isn't worth it. Plus, if my girlfriend expresses discomfort with it, I would just not do it. It's not that bad to sleep on a couch for one night. Story 36. Forget this guy. You do not have time for such nonsense. dump him, and never look back. Trust is one thing, but having no problem at all with your husband or boyfriend regularly sleeping with women in his bed or there's without you around is the kind of behavior cult leaders are made of. Sounds like a manipulative person who does not deserve to be trusted to me. And I am actually going through a bit of a woman-hating phase right now, so I am not at all biased to take the woman's side. Story 37. I honestly wonder what made him think it's all right for a man who is in a relationship to share a bed with a woman who isn't his girlfriend. He uses trust as a reason to manipulate her, thinking it should be fine. Trust is earned. It is every partner's responsibility to establish boundaries, to respect his or her partner and their relationship. It is not your partner's job in the first place to micromanage and tell you to maintain certain boundaries for you. If you care about your partner and the relationship, you wouldn't even allow yourself to be in a situation where your partner would question your sincerity and loyalty in the relationship. He's not worth it. Imagine what other terrible things he is going to do in the future and tell you it's fine. Story 38. Good for you. You should value yourself and not let unwise people like that take advantage of you. Should people be honest about who they are during the early dating phase? Absolutely. Will they? Absolutely not. No one, absolutely no one, reveals all the peculiar things they do or think when they are early in dating because they all know how the other person is going to think about it. Everyone has those things. I'm sure you do too if you are really honest with yourself. Unfortunately, that's never going to change. This is why it's so important to do things like not getting married in the first year or two, and even better, live together for a year first. This gives you the time you need to actually discover who someone is. Unfortunately, most people will also spend that time actively denying all the red flags about their new partner because they really don't want to have to go through the effort of finding a new partner, and because even if your partner is totally fake, you can still get deeply emotionally attached through that pipeline we call love. So, in summary, it's just something everyone has to expect, be prepared for, and do everything you can to speed up the process so you still have plenty of time to try again when the sugarcoating fades and the real person is discovered. Story 39. The last female friend's house I remember sleeping at, without my wife, girlfriend at the time, was about 10 years ago. This friend was out of town, which is the only reason I slept there. It had been a few years and we were finally close enough to catch up, so I left for the weekend. Anyway, I crashed on her couch for a couple of nights, had a great visit, and went home. Here's what's normal. She lived out of town and driving back wasn't realistic. I slept on the couch. I slept on the couch. I slept on the couch. My wife, again, girlfriend at the time, was fine with it. Though, full disclosure, I probably would have gone anyway if she wasn't, because we were having a bit of a rough patch. Despite the rough patch, I slept on the couch. I can think of some extreme scenarios for sharing a bed with a female friend, but unless we need to share body heat because one of us might die, I'm sleeping on the couch.